Sharon Armstrong. I've been a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator since 1997. I absolutely love teaching people how to use Stampin' Up! Products. Today I'm going to be playing with a stamp set called Lilypad Lake. It's really a fun set, and as you watch the video you will understand I had one idea in my head, but I came up with 2 cards. Sometimes that happens, and I'm very happy with the results. If you have not subscribed to my channel, do that below. After you hit the subscribe button, there's a little bell. Hit the bell, and then you'll know when I upload another video. If you love this video, give me a thumbs up, because that makes my day. And I would love to hear your comments. Tell me what you think about my concept after you watch this video. Thank you guys, I really appreciate ya. So the stamp set we're using is the Lilypad Lake, and it has matching framelits. And I want to tell you how I started designing these 2 cards, because my idea was I was going to put all the pieces from the stamp set on one card. It was too much. Not like all the words and stuff, but I just wanted to just use all the images and a sentiment. It was just too much. So in the end, I ended up with 2 cards, and I want to show you how I did it. All right, let me set these aside so we don't get them dirty. Okay, so, well, let me pull this card out so you'll see which one I'm doing. Okay, so for this card, and I've tried to cut out as much stuff ahead of time so that you can watch the fun stuff and me not cutting out on the big shot. You guys know how to use a big shot. All right, so first of all, let me see if I can image it here like this. So I cut out this circle out of a quarter sheet, and I had about this much room left. So that's how I came up with this design. Make sense? Okay. I'm going to take a piece of scrap paper, and I am using the Whisper White Thick, and I'll tell you why. Because I colored that sun with Stampin Blends, and you really need the thicker white cardstock when you're using the Stampin Blends. I know it was kind of overkill for just one little thing, but on my first attempt, it just made a mess. So I switched over to just a scrap of the Whisper White Thick. I'm going to take my Memento ink, and remember I told you I was going to make 1 card using the images, right? And that was just too much. So I'm just going to stamp all of my images with the Memento Black. I knew I only needed just 1 set of sailboats, but as far as the lily pads go, I thought, oh, I'll probably want a couple of those. So I stamped 2 lily pads. And we're going to just turn this image right here. We're just using up every bit that we can, not getting too close so that we don't overlap or anything. And then I knew I wanted a sentiment, so the first sentiment I picked out was this one, so it was kind of big. So I'm just going to bring that down here. It's upside down. That's okay, because we're going to just color them and then cut them out. I wanted to use my Stampin Blends for coloring. So I picked, I know this is confusing you because I've got that card there. I'm just trying to show you my process. All right, so I stamped all my images, and then I picked out some of the Stampin' Blends. I used the Old Olive, both colors. I used the lighter color of the Cherry Cobbler, and I used the darker color of the Daffodil Delight. I cannot wait to get my new colors in. They're coming, but they're not here yet. So I was just playing with what I have. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am using the finer tipped end of all of my Stampin' Blends. I'm just going to color. And even though I'm not using much blending, I just pick up these Stampin' Blends quicker than I pick up my markers. And I have all the markers, I've had them for years, but I just love how they color. There's no streaks, they just go on so smooth. And if you have I call it the eraser. It's called the lifter. It kind of helps you if you make mistakes. And I don't have anything like that in my arsenal with markers. So I don't know, I just love these Stampin' Blends. So as you can see, I'm just coloring in. And then I'm going to grab the darker, and I'm just following the lines of the artist. And it's kind of small, so again, you're not seeing a whole lot of blending, but I liked the two-tone effect, so that's why I went with it. Really make sure that that clicks. We don't want those drying out. Now I'm going to take my lighter one again, and I'm just going to push away from the edge just to kind of blend that a little bit. And again, this is really tiny, but I liked the look. So if you wanted to do this at home, you could just use markers, or you could use just one color of the Stampin' Blends. You wouldn't necessarily have to do the second step. But again, everybody's card looks different. That's what makes stamping so fun. You can see an idea and you see it like, I could do that with that instead. And that's what helps your creativity. Okay, so I'm done with that. You gotta see it though. I mean, it's worth doing the darker, don't you think? I love it. All right, so now I'm gonna take the cherry cobbler. You could use any color for the lily pads. I just picked the red. The lily pad flowers, I guess I should have said. Pretty easy to stay in the lines. I promise this is the longest part of this video, is watching me color. You know, coloring is so therapeutic, especially when you pick your own colors and you change things up a bit. You use those brain cells. Okay, so our flamingo, I'm not going to color. I'm just going to leave him white. I am going to color my sailboats. And I know sailboats, you know, if you see a bunch of sailboats out on the lake, they are not all the same colors. They're all different colors. But for mine, they're all going to be the same. They're going to be Bermuda Bay and Daffodil Delight. By the way, guys, I will have all of the instructions and the measurements in the links below. So don't stress. Don't say, she's not telling me what size things are. It's all good, I promise. And again, I'm using the Whisper White Thick because I did do a lot of this coloring, not just the sun. I'm going to flip this over and let you see what the back looks like. Okay, I'm glad I did that because I want to point out, let me pick this up. Can you see right there where I went out of the line? I'm going to take the fatter tip of the lifter and I'm just basically pushing that back in. Again, with the Whisper White Thick, I'm able to do this. If you use regular Whisper White, it just kind of chews up the paper, so not a good idea. Okay, so all my images are stamped. Whoops, one more. Forgot one more. I'm going to go ahead and stamp this one right here because that's going to go for my other card. Okay, so here's all my stamping, right? Now I'm going to go cut it all out. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. I've cut out all the pieces and I wanted to just show you, this is just one of those plastic Post-it notes, and this thing, you can see how well loved it is. Since the words are pretty tight in that frame, I use this to hold it. Also for that bird's legs, they are skinny little legs, okay? And I don't care, I mean, I could put in a brand new cutting plate and it would still move on me. So these little Post-it notes, they're just plastic and they don't tear my paper and all of that. So I just love using them. So, okay, so I have my pieces cut out. I cut out a yellow framelit, and I'm gonna take my large scissors, which you don't ever see me using these large scissors much on cardstock because I keep them for ribbon. But I needed a long blade, so that's why I went with that. And I'm gonna go ahead and get my silicone mat. I wanna put some adhesive on this. And then I'm just gonna line this up. Like that. And then we're going to do the other side. So mainly, let me just show you, let's see. Oh, I had it backwards. I knew that didn't look right. I'm mainly just taking the white corner and going to the indent of the yellow. And that's how I'm lining it up. And of course, this is going to need dimensionals. So we'll get those ready. So as you can see, I have the little wavy lines on my Whisper White piece. So we're going to get that stamp. And it's kind of a long stamp. So I like to ink it up upside down. I'm using the new Coastal Cabana. Actually, it's not new. It was in retirement and I'm so glad they brought it back. I love this soft color. Okay. Again, don't worry about all my measurements. I'll have those in the link below. And the first time I did it, I stamped again, and I didn't like it that much. So I'm just gonna stick with the darker, and I'm gonna stamp one more down there since I missed the bottom. And then one more at the top. Okay, we're just gonna add this layer to some Daffodil Delight. I just think it's funny how in my head I had the image of one card and I ended up making 2 cards. And I love both of them, so I'm pretty happy. All right, so let's take this is Bermuda Bay. And we're gonna add, whoops, this to the bottom. And then we'll add our dimensionals, our sentiment layer. And then now I had cut out, this is the largest circle in the layering circle and then the largest scallop. I did that with Daffodil Delight. So I want to do some more stamping. And I only really need just the bottom. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and add this layer to this. I kind of have to pick this up because my head needs to be where the camera is, and that doesn't always work. Again, we always need more dimensionals. I don't even know how many packs of dimensionals I buy. I use them on every card. I just feel like having a card pop up, I need one more, having a card pop up and not be flat just gives it so much more personality. I would love to hear your comments below after you're done watching this video. Tell me what you think about my concept. All right, and then again, with keeping with, and by the way, I always use the other side of a piece of paper. It's not trash because Stampin' Up! Paper has two sides. Did y'all know that? So you flip it over and you stamp on it again. So we're gonna use some dimensionals, and I kind of think I use the smaller ones. Let's see. Nope, that works for that. This might be a little tight. Yep, it's a little tight. So whenever it doesn't quite fit, just take those snips and trim it off. And when I cut the framelets, I didn't realize, let me show you the framelit. See how it's all one piece? I didn't realize it was going to cut the little boat away, but it did. So put this little guy back here. Oh guys, I forgot to stamp the sun. You should stamp the sun when you make this card at home. Stamp the sun before you put it on, but we're going to go ahead and wing it. All right, let's see here. I have some Daffodil Delight, and I am stamping it with regular ink. And then I'm going to take my Stampin Blends, and I'm going to color it. Again, don't do it this way at home. When you use Stampin Blends, you should use Memento ink if you don't want it to smear. However, this is yellow on yellow, so we're good. So if you're doing red on red, blue on blue, you could stamp in that color as long as it's going to be something like this, something solid, so that it won't cause anything to bleed. Okay. Huh. Well, that went better than I thought it would after I realized that I put the card together. Okay, then we're going to bring this down, and that's how fast I made that card. Let's make the other one. So this one, I put the sentiment in the inside because I didn't like it here at all. I tried it every which way I could. I was not happy. So, all right. I don't know if you can tell, but can you see the little cutouts right there? That is a framelit. So I'm using the Big Shot sponge and brush, and I'm just going to get those pieces out. Oh, I still see one. Then we're going to pull this off. You'll notice that my card is a little bit bigger than this because otherwise it cuts it all off. So again, I'll have the measurements for you, so don't worry about that, but just keep that in mind. Don't make it the same size as this, because if you do, you'll just cut the whole bottom up completely off. You could go ahead and ask me how I know that, because I did it. All right, so now we have this. We're going to bring in our lines again. And I want to come just above. I thought this was so cool. Whenever I get framelits and stamp sets, I like to run all the framelits through, see what they do. And I'm telling you, the first time I did this, and I was like, I don't get it. But then when I did this, I was like, I get it. How fun is that? Isn't that cool? So you'll be able to see when I add it to the next layer, which is, this is Bermuda Bay, and this is still Coastal Cabana. So the ink is really close. I didn't realize that because here I stamped off, so I made it a little bit softer. Okay, so let's go ahead. We're gonna add some snail. And I'm gonna show you, I think if you've watched any of my videos before, you've seen this trick. Because these little lines are pretty skinny and I didn't want to use the multi-purpose liquid glue. So, but I also don't want to, I don't think y'all can see it, but there's adhesive. So I take my paper piercer and it's just like magic. It just attaches to it and gets all that cleaned up for me. Yes, I have to clean off my paper piercer occasionally, but it's not bad because it's just like a little glob of glue, like that. Piece of cake. Oh, I think I was off the camera. I just clean it off like that. Okay. I'm gonna add that there. Can you see? You can see the darker blue through the white. I'm sure. When you do this at home, you're gonna see, oh, that's so cool, okay? It's hard to see on the camera. I have good lighting, I've got a good camera, but it's still hard to see. So for this one, I have my pieces already cut out. I have made way too many videos where I've lost pieces. So for this one, I wanted to use the framelit that cut out the sun, okay? So for these two cards, I used all the framelits, including this little guy right here. I'm gonna pop that up with a dimensional. We're gonna put that right there. More dimensionals. You know, I could have colored him like Flirty Flamingo. Ah, what was I thinking? I may have to go back and do that. Make one with Flirty Flamingo since he's a flamingo. And then we're gonna put him about right there. We've got two lily pads that we colored earlier and cut out. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do that too. The subscribe button is right below, and then there is a little bell beside it. And if you ring that bell, you'll be notified when I upload another video. So now we have our little pieces, and I'm gonna go ahead and bring in the silicone mat again. I'm telling you, I have like 3 of these in my studio. I have them all over. Gonna add some more adhesive. Clean up our holes. And this was kind of tiny to put in place, so I just left it on my paper piercer. And I'm gonna kind of guide it in behind there. Clean this one up. And then put this one back in here. The last thing we're gonna do is add all this to our card base. There's that. And then we have one last thing to do, and that is the inside. See? 2 sides to every piece of paper. I cut this one out in Bermuda Bay, but I didn't cut it in half like I did the Daffodil Delight one. Whoops. You just center it a little bit more. Okay. It's going to go on the inside of the card, so alas, no dimensionals. So let me get my Whisper White for the inside. There you go. 2 cards, 1 bird. I love it. I had so much fun, and you know, that's what being creative is all about. Come up with an idea, be inspired by something, and then go for it. I hope that you love those cards. Make sure you check out the description below, and all the supplies and measurements are down there. So if you ever have any questions, you could contact me, but I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to spend it with me.